Hello YouTube, welcome to my playthrough of Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templar. That's it, let's get to it. Okay, so as you can see we're back with Nico until George comes back from Ireland. So we're just going to check out her apartment, and the first thing that you can notice on the screen is her voice answering machine that's blinking. So we'll go and interact with that.
I had messages waiting to be played.
You have 3 messages.
Hey, Collard, it's me, your favorite editor. Guess what? I'm gonna give you a second chance. I need somebody to write the TV column. Pays lousy, so what's new? If you're interested, drop by the office. In fact, drop by the office anyway. We have to talk, Nico. That story of yours I spiked. It won't go away. You've made some dangerous enemies out there.
Hey, Nico, it's your old pal. I mean, your new pal, George. Whoa, Ireland. It's a whole different country. And I got some amazing news for you. Gem of a story, in fact. Oh, gotta go. Yeah, fella here's got a drink lined up for me. See you tomorrow, Nico. Slàinte. Yep, only here for a day and I'm speaking the lingo like a local.
Mademoiselle Coulard, this is Imelda Carchon. I wanted to thank you for being so understanding when... Come to lunch, why don't you? Tomorrow. I might have more news. There's a Monsieur Merlon coming to see me this evening. He says he knows why Pierre was murdered. In fact, he'll be here shortly. I shall let you know what he says. Goodbye, dear girl. Till tomorrow.
Merlin? My God. Merlin's the killer. I better get over there and warn her now. When it came to being two-faced, Imelda was up there with the best. I owed her nothing, but I couldn't just let her die. I arrived to find the Palais Royal courtyard deserted. I only hoped that I'd beaten the assassin here. I had to warn Imelda before it was too late.
So we'll go try the door. See if she answers the door.
Locked? No way was I going to break through a door like that.
Alright, so we can't get in that way. But there is another way. And you could probably see it already. Why don't you do this? This is the way in. I hear you say. We're actually just going to interact with this, and she should undo it. There you go.
I unhooked the first wire.
And we'll unhook the second wire.
I released the second wire. Even with both wires removed, the statue remained upright.
So all we've got to do is give it a nudge. So just give it a nudge.
If I could deconstruct this, I could deconstruct anything.
Hey Tim, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it, dude. Now we'll just pop up the ladder and we'll see if we can prevent this murder.
The plastic sheet was thick and strong. I'd need more than my hands to tear it.
Okay, what have we got that's thick and strong that can tear? Maybe a bullet casing? Very handy. Awesome. Now we're inside and we're not breaking and entering technically because we're trying to prevent a murder. Let's go through the door and see what happens.
My God, I'm too late. Imelda. Oh no.
Nico?
Don't worry, you're going to be all right.
You know that isn't true.
It was Merlin, wasn't it?
dressed as a cavalier. Absurd. You came to warn me, didn't you?
I must be crazy.
Let me see you, Nico.
All this time you were just using me. Which one is the real Imelda?
You are an extraordinary girl. Thierry would have been so proud of you.
You didn't know my father.
So like him. Something about the eyes. I wish we'd had time to get to know each other.
She was gone. She cheated me, lied to me, used me. But why?
Why indeed?
Even in death, Imelda looked the same. Beautiful, inscrutable. The Ice Queen alone in her ice palace. I opened it. Inside was a tiny gold key. I took the key. I had to leave. I knew I could never return.
But again, tampering with evidence. Reporters. Okay, so we have a tiny little key. And she has connections with people and her father. So let's go and check out the box that her father made.
The box was carved by my father. It never had a key. The elephant on the lid was a perfect match to Carchon's.
Alright, so let's try and use a key in the box.
I took out the key. I couldn't believe it. Imelda's key opened my father's box. I dreaded what I was going to find inside. It was a photograph of Imelda, but why here? In my father's box. I felt as if a black hole had swallowed me up. Imelda and Carchon grinning. While behind them a village was being razed to the ground. Its people butchered. And there, next to them, staring out at me across the years, my own father. There was a letter. I feared there was even worse to come. Hotel Saint-Georges, Algiers, Friday. My darling Thierry, by the time you read this, you'll be safely out of Africa. You need not fear. Pierre and the organization do not know who you are really working for. Or about us. Did you think I would betray you? I could not. You wanted me to leave him, but I don't have your courage. I know too much of what has been going on here. They would find me and they would kill us both. Enjoy your life in Paris, Thierry. Your life of honor, of patriotic duty. Do they give medals to spies? No. They'll just give you a funny job in an embassy somewhere. I could never share that with you. Imagine me, a diplomat's wife. So I must stay here with Pierre, the two of us bound together by what we have done to this country. Au revoir, my love. You will be in my heart until I die. Imelda. Suddenly everything made sense. My father had been working undercover for the government. He was one of the good guys after all. He and Imelda must have fallen in love. She'd found out who he really was, so he had to leave. It had broken her heart, but she had never revealed it to anyone. I knew I couldn't either. Whatever he was doing, he'd had good reason to keep it secret. I decided I would respect that and tell nobody.
That was pretty deep, wasn't it? That's it. And that is the end of her chapters in this game.
I knew it was George. For a moment I was tempted to pretend that I was out, or ask him to go away and come back later. But then... Come in.
Hello, George. So, where did you stay last night?
At McDevitt's. I got to drinking with Doyle and a couple of the guys.
That explains why you look so ill today. Did you get any sleep at all?
Not much. I had to share the room with another guy.
Did he snore?
Hardly. He was dead,
And you say Pigram has disappeared?
without a trace. But my visit wasn't a complete waste of time.
Why was there a dead guy in it?
Pigram's gem?
The Templar's gem. Whoever Jacques Marquet is, he's in for a disappointment.
Jacques Marquet?
He's the guy who should have collected the gem from Fitzgerald.
What are your plans?
I want to find out who, what, or where Montfaucon was. All I've got to go by is the name and a picture of a hanged man.
Alright, so what we're gonna do
Do you want to look after the gem?
No, George. I'd be too tempted to sell it.
go back to
Can't
the
sit here all day, much as I'd like to.
museum.
Okay. Don't forget to look for Lobinot at the Kron Museum. And why don't you see if Rosso has heard anything?
Okay. Anything else I can do for you while I'm out? Shopping, a trip to the laundromat?
Just take care of yourself.
So she's basically giving us the route we gotta take, just to pick up a little bit more clues to see what's going on. So we'll head
I
back
so
to
much
the
wanted to
museum.
talk to George about everything that had happened, but I knew I never could. My father's connection to Africa would have to remain a secret forever. His bravery would be known only to the government and to me. Revealing it would just damage his memory. People would take the story and twist it. Before long, he would be the villain and Carchon would be the hero. I know how they do that. I'm a journalist.
And when we go inside, we should find Lobano there. Or maybe I lied.
Pardon me.
Oui, monsieur?
Do you know anything about the Knights of the Temple?
No, sir. Not a sausage.
The sign on the tripod says it was found at a Templar preceptory.
It does?
Yeah. It doesn't mention John Dee at all.
Most remiss.
You don't know anything about the tripod, do you?
No, I don't. I never had much of a start in life, you see. I owe what little education I gained to my uncle. He was an optician, but he also doubled as the village school teacher. He taught me the alphabet. Wait, 19 letters of it. The bottom row of the chart was too small even for him to read, so he left them out.
Why don't you start over and enroll for adult
Get it?
education?
Optician.
No,
Too
I
small.
never thought of that. Do you see? If I studied art and did all my homework, I could be a professor of history.
At your age? Dream on.
The competence.
Can you give me any further information about the tripod?
Certainly, monsieur. It's infamous. That tripod, that belonged to John Dee.
I wonder how.
What's the importance of John Dee's tripod?
Dee was the most famous escapologist of the 16th century. The Houdini of his time.
Don't you mean alchemist? Escapologists use ropes, chains, and handcuffs, not tripods.
Well, whatever he was, that is the tripod he used in his experiments.
What kind of experiments did John Dee perform with his tripod?
Oh, the usual. Didn't you study chemistry at school?
Yeah, but we skipped over thaumatology. Can I take a closer look at the tripod?
What? Get it out of the case? no! That tripod is protected by a sophisticated surveillance system.
How sophisticated?
A painfully loud alarm bell.
How is the alarm bell triggered?
By the slightest pressure on or movement of any part of the case wherein that tripod is situated.
It strikes me that to call your alarm system sophisticated is, well, stretching the truth a little.
It has never failed yet. The sophistication is in its simplicity.
Touché. Okay.
Thanks for your help.
So, I guess we'll go to the police station, because Lobino is not here to give us our next location. And it looks like Inspector Moo is here now.
Sergeant Moo?
Yes.
I was one of the last people to see the victim alive, Sergeant.
Does that worry you?
Yes, it does. I feel I owe it to him to find his killer.
That is best left to the authorities, monsieur. Did he speak to you? Tell you anything?
No, he just grinned and nodded.
Don't let it trouble you, monsieur. Go home and try to forget.
I know the identity of the dead guy. His name was Plantar.
Is that so? You knew him, did you?
No, but
We'll know everything there is to know about him soon enough.
I'm trying to be helpful here.
The best way you can help us is to go home, monsieur.
I'd like to report an assault.
Yes, monsieur? Where is the victim?
I'm the victim. I've been harassed by a pair of thugs.
I see. And where did this alleged assault take place?
Outside the Hotel Ubu. They stopped me as I was leaving and went through my pockets.
Could you describe the suspects, monsieur?
One looked like a gorilla, and the other looked like a weasel. Their names are Flap and Guido.
Bon. I'll get them this time.
Have you heard of a man called Marquet?
Yes. He used to be known as the Mole of Montmartre. I heard he's been hospitalized, probably by one of his rivals.
Is it that part already?
Which hospital was Marquet taken to?
The Hagenmeyer Clinic. In the Avenue des Hérissons.
Why was Marquet known as the Mole of Montmartre?
Because he lived in Montmartre, I suppose.
Yeah, but why the mole?
I don't know. Maybe he ruined people's lawns.
Do you know a man named Khan? He's a shifty-looking guy with a scar on his left cheek.
No, monsieur.
He also calls himself Thomas Merlin.
I'm sorry, Monsieur Stobbartt. I don't know him. Has this man any connection with the bombing of the cafe?
Yes. I believe Khan was the name he used when he hired the clown costume. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur.
It's the guy who bombed the cafe. The clown.
This man looks nothing like a clown.
He's taken off his grease paint and costume.
Then there is nothing to link this man with the killing.
Nothing? Look at those murderous eyes.
Hardly likely to get him convicted.
See you later, Sergeant.
Alright. So I guess there's a part before the part I thought it was. Yeah, there is a part before the part I thought it was. Let's chat with this fella.
Hi, my name's George Stobbartt.
Really? If you wish to make an appointment, see the receptionist.
I'm looking for a guy named Jacques Marquet.
In which department does he work?
He doesn't. He's a patient.
I see. You do realize there are strict policies regarding visiting hours, don't you?
This is important. I have to talk to Marquet urgently.
We make no exceptions to the rules.
It's a matter of life and death.
The well-oiled running of this hospital is a matter of life and death. That's why we have rules.
I think I ought to warn you that Marquet is not what he seems.
Explain yourself.
He's in league with a bunch of guys who want to take over the world.
Nonsense. Besides,
Nobody would
Marquez
have believed that anyway, would they?
paid in advance for one of our most exclusive private rooms.
Could you tell me who Marquet's employers are?
Certainly not.
Okay.
Thanks for your help.
He wasn't helpful. Don't thank him for not being helpful. He was actually rather an idiot.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Is this the Hagenmeyer Clinic?
That's correct.
I thought I was in a garden center.
Oh, the plants. They were my idea. A little greenery to evoke the spirit of nature. How may I help you?
I'm here to see Jacques Marquet.
Oh, yes. Are you related to our client, sir?
Yeah, I'm his long-lost brother.
A brother half his age with a different name and an American accent.
Yeah, people always say that. I blame Mom. We were separated at an early age. After a mix-up in the nursery at the Oakland shopping mall.
I've never heard anything so ridiculous in all my life.
Neither have
I
I.
guess not. So, do I get to see Marquet before the funeral?
That attitude will get you nowhere. My instructions were quite clear. No one gets to see Marquet. So unless you can prove you're a relative or a close acquaintance, you're wasting your time here.
Has Marquet been visited by a man in a clown costume?
Oh, no.
You haven't seen a man in disguise?
Well, there's Theodore the Bear. He comes every Thursday to entertain the children. Personally, I think he scares them half to death in that crummy old bear suit. If I was stuck on my back with tubes in every orifice, he's the last person I'd want to see.
Has Marquet had a visit from a pair of gangsters?
I should hope not. Can you describe them?
A thin guy who looks like a weasel and his friend, the gorilla.
Sounds as if they escaped from a zoo.
Wouldn't be far off. Okay, I believe there's a couple things I'm supposed
Have
to
you
do
seen
here.
this man here at the clinic?
No, sir. And I never forget a face.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I can't go down the hallways. Yes, I can. It says pop down the hallway, see what happens. Okay. Supposed to do something here, I think.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Look at this ID pass.
So you're Merlin. Marquet's been asking for you.
There we go.
For me?
Yes. He was shouting your name when they brought him in here. Now, let me see. He was on Ward B12, as I recall. Oh, he's being transferred to... Oh, dear. He's on Ward J2. That's Nurse Grendel's ward.
What's so bad about Nurse Grendel?
She runs that ward like a South American prison.
Keeping a well-disciplined ward isn't a crime, is it?
Well disciplined. In the discipline and punishment stakes, she'd whip the butt off the Marquis de Sade. Everything, I mean everything, is done to a strict routine. 6 o'clock alarm call, 6:10 bowel movements, and woe betide anyone who doesn't have a result. Those patients of hers are like Pavlova's dogs.
She sounds like a real nightmare.
And then some.
If Nurse Grendel is that bad, how come the authorities tolerate her?
She's like part of the furniture.
I was beginning to get the picture. This woman was jealous, with a big green capital J. How do I find Nurse Grendel's ward?
Down the corridor on the left, turn right at the senior consultant's washroom. Right again at the executive coffee lounge. Bear left past the administrator's sauna. And turn left at the end. That's J2. And good luck.
Jeez. If you've ever been to a hospital, you know how you can get lost. And it's always, yeah, this way, that way, and they make it sound so easy. And then you start going and you're like, oh crap, I can't remember anything she just said. Or he just said. I've had that a couple of times already in the past month.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
As I turned the corner, I saw the source of the hellish noise which echoed through the corridors. It was an industrial polishing machine with an odd-looking guy in tow.
Let's have a chat with this fella, see what his deal is.
Hello.
What's that?
I said hello.
Oh, hiya.
I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
That's what I thought you said. Don't look so down in the mouth. No matter how bad things seem, I never let life get on top of me.
Oh, yeah? What's your secret?
Why, it's easy. All you have to do is smile and whistle this little tune.
You know what? If you start whistling, I'll bust you in the teeth.
It's a deal.
Typical.
Have you seen any unsavory characters lurking about in the corridors?
No, sir, I haven't. But I've got nothing to worry about. What's that, Mr. Shiny? You'd take good care of the rascals, I'll bet you would. With a friend like him, I've no fear of oppressors.
It must be a great comfort.
He is.
Mr. Shiny.
Would Mr. Shiny be your polishing machine by any chance?
Please, don't call him that. He's more of a friend than a machine. I've had Mr. Shiny for 3 years, and he's never let me down once.
How come you got so attached to a polishing machine?
I asked you not to call him that. He's got a name, you know.
Yeah, Mr. Shiny. It's just that...
You think it's odd, don't you? I don't mind. The rest of the staff think I'm twisted. I heard them snorking behind me back when I gave Mr. Shiny his weekly pull-through.
Do you know where I'd find a patient called Marquet?
No, I'm not allowed on the wards with Mr. Shiny.
Mr. Shiny.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Who is it?
That's what I'm asking you. Have you seen him before?
How should I know? You haven't told me who he is.
Take a look at the photo.
Yeah, okay.
Now, have you seen him before?
No.
He's not the smartest, not the sharpest tool in the shed, is he? Let's see if we can...
Would you like to shake my hand?
Not until I've washed, if you don't mind, sir.
That's a shame. That's about it.
See you later.
Try and go in this door behind him.
Take care now. Hey now, you can't go in there.
How come?
I'm responsible for the contents of that cupboard.
Okay, so we need to get him away from there to go into that cupboard. So what we're going to do is actually walk around and unplug him.
As I tugged the plug out of the socket, the polishing machine coughed, spluttered, and died.
Mr. Shiny, what's wrong, pal?
So now he's away. We have our opportunity. Just gotta be a little bit quick about it. So we have to get this coat, otherwise the next area we go into, we're gonna get kicked out straight away. So now we're in the ward.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Oh, hi. Is this Ward J2?
Yes, sir. The patients are ready for your inspection, Doctor.
Thank you, nurse.
You'll need this, Doctor.
She gave me a long, narrow metal box and a stunning smile. Thanks.
Could you take a look at the client in bed number 3 now? His name is Eric Sopmarsh.
So if you remember when we went to the front desk and the receptionist was talking about this lady being a bit of a hard ass. Well, if we walked in, she'd be like, "You can't be in here, get out." And I would automatically go back into where Mr. Shiny and the weirdo is. So that's why we had to get that coat. But we'll continue on through the dialogue right here.
Do you have any clowns on the ward?
Why, yes, we do. A professional clown.
I'll bet he lightens the place up.
Hardly. Monsieur Boissy has been in a coma for the last 3 months.
What's wrong with Boissy?
He was involved in a very nasty accident. A silly stunt involving a unicycle. His current condition is due to post-traumatic shock. It's unlikely he'll ever perform as a clown again.
It's an ill wind that blows nobody any good.
Well, that's a pretty bizarre accident.
Do you have a patient named Marquet on this ward?
Oui, monsieur. He is in the private room at the end of the ward. He has been placed in strict isolation.
Why is Marquet in quarantine?
If you wish to know more, you'll have to speak to Herr Hagenmeier. All I know is that Marquet's room is strictly out of bounds.
Do you know who paid for Marquet's room?
No, of course I don't.
Preferential treatment like that must cost an arm and a leg.
That's not my concern, monsieur.
Alright, so she gave us this item right here.
What is this device?
It's for taking the patient's blood pressure, doctor.
Comes in handy later.
Thank you, nurse.
Au revoir, monsieur.
We'll go and have a chat with the patients. Okay? And now you'll figure out George's...
Hello? Anybody home?
Doctor
Who are you? My name is Dr. Stobbartt, and I'm here to steer you down the rocky road to recovery.
Dr. Monroe said there was no cure for what I've got.
Your problem is you stayed in bed too long.
Are you sure you're a qualified doctor?
You better believe it. What can you tell me about Marquet?
He's the man in the private room, isn't he? That room was mine before I was tossed out like a common squatter.
Do you know what's wrong with Marquet?
They won't even say what's wrong with me. Tell me, Doctor, what's your opinion?
It's too early to say.
But I've been here for 3 months.
Jeez.
What's your impression of Nurse Grendel?
She's a very efficient young woman.
Efficient? You make her sound like a vacuum cleaner.
I've no complaints.
The woman in reception described Nurse Grendel as a monster.
Well, that's simply not true. She's quite strict, but that's her job, isn't it? You've got to have discipline in a place like this.
Now we'll ask him if he's seen our murderer, our costume murderer.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
Alrighty, so now let's check his blood pressure.
I'm going to take your blood pressure.
Why?
I'm a doctor. It's my job.
Does it put it on?
Seems fine to me.
You're not doing it right.
Notice how he just put it on the bed and pumped it? There's not much else we can actually do right here for right now. We'll go back over and talk to the nurse. She should have some more dialogue if I'm not mistaken.
Pardon me, nurse.
Oui, monsieur.
No, I'm wrong.
Thank you, nurse.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Doctor!
What is it?
You haven't taken my blood pressure.
Dr. George?
Seems fine to me.
You're not doing it right.
Of course I am.
No, you're not. Dr. Monroe never did it like that.
I can't take a satisfactory reading while you're excited like this. I'll come back later.
Divert the point. Okay, so what we're going to do is actually go back to the entrance of the hospital. And now we have a new character on board. So the next point is actually speak to the uptight doctor who knows nothing.
Excuse me, sir.
Aha! Just the man. You must be the new boy.
Yeah, I must be.
Well, stop wandering about and make yourself useful. Bunny, come here, boy. This is Benoit, my nephew. Can I trust you to look after him?
Yes, you can.
He is fresh out of medical school. It will open his eyes to see a real doctor on the job.
I'll bet.
Show him around. Let him see some real suffering.
Jesus. Bedside manner. Okay, let's go talk to Bunny. If he ever stops moving.
Hi, my name's George Stobbartt.
Yes, sir?
So what's your name, kid?
Benoit. They call me Bunny.
Bunny? Jeez, and you don't mind?
Oh, I've gotten used to it.
Okay, Benoit, you're gonna help me.
Anything you say, sir.
Do you know anything about a patient
questions?
named Marquet?
No, sir, I don't know much about any of the patients.
I've never met a doctor who admits that he's only human.
I'm only a trainee, sir. I'm sure I'll get the hang of things.
Do you know the nurse on Ward J2?
No, monsieur. This is my first day here. I can't wait to get my hands dirty. Jesus. I was talking about treating my first patient, of course. I didn't mean I'd get my hands dirty with a nurse.
Shut up, Benoit.
Okay, sir.
Let's ask him if you've seen the dude.
Do
Costumed
you recognize
killer.
the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur. I've never seen him before.
Okay, so that's pretty much
Follow
out of the
me,
question
Benoit.
now.
I'm right behind
So now
you,
he's
sir.
just going to tag us along, and he's going to be able to help us out with some doctor stuff, because he actually went to medical school. All right. So we could use the blood pressure.
Hey,
with
Benoit.
Bunny.
Yes, sir?
Here, take this pressure gauge.
Thank you, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Well, keep it safe until I think of something.
So I've thought of something already.
Follow me, Benoit.
I'm right behind you, sir.
Instead of George not taking blood pressure, we're going to get Bunny to do it.
Hi, it's me again. I'll come back
By not
later.
talking to him. By going this way. And then that's our distraction to get past, I believe.
You haven't finished taking my blood pressure.
Will you keep quiet? You're disturbing the other patients.
I'll keep quiet when you've taken my blood pressure properly.
I have to see Jacques Marquet first.
How come he gets preferential treatment? It's because he's got money, isn't it?
That's why
I'll
he's in for
come
3
back
minutes.
when you've dealt with that chip on your shoulder.
Okay.
Hey, Benoit.
Yes, sir?
There we go. So that's how you proc it.
Do you still have that gauge I gave you?
Ah, yes. What do you want me to do with it?
Now we can get him to do the old man.
Use it on Eric Sopmarsh.
Okay.
There you go. It's going to block it off, and now we can get past the patient. And now we have a guard in front of us, so we're going to have a chat with the guard.
I'm Dr. Stobbartt.
Bonjour, docteur.
Have you seen any suspicious characters on the ward?
Yeah, I have.
A gorilla and a weasel?
No, this was a tatty old bear.
How is the bear acting suspiciously?
Well, he was wearing a homburg.
Is that against the law?
No, but it's pretty weird for a bear.
You thinking what I'm thinking?
Have you heard of a guy called Marquet?
He's in quarantine, doc, right behind this here door.
Marquet is just the man I wanted to see.
I wouldn't go in there if I was you. He has anthrax.
Does he now?
I have to visit my patient.
What for?
Routine. I have to check he's still breathing.
What if he's not?
I'll sign the certificate and register his bed as vacant.
That's a cold and distant attitude to death.
Well, I've been institutionalized to the point of godlike aloofness.
The white coat suits you.
Thanks. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I have never seen him before.
So when we go through this door, are we going to see the bear in action?
Catch you later, officer.
Au revoir, Doc.
No, we're not.
Marquet?
Yes, I am Marquet. I've been expecting you.
You have?
Well, what are you waiting for? Get it over with.
I just want to know what I should do with the gem.
The Lahmar gem.
Yeah, right here in my pocket.
I thought you were one of the assassin.
Not me.
Wow,
I
doesn't
never
sound healthy.
inhaled.
So, you were sent in my place?
Yeah. You could hardly make the trip to Ireland in your condition. What should I do with the gem?
Deliver it to the Grandmaster. Quickly tell him that I have found the tripod right here in Paris.
You have it?
Not yet, but it's being taken care of. I hired a couple of stooges with a flair for petty crime.
Would that be Flap and Guido by any chance?
You know them as for Klausner. He has gone off to Syria on a wild goose chase.
They have geese in Syria?
He has a theory about the location of the...
Location of what? Location of what?
That's enough excitement for one day, Monsieur Marquet. What are you doing here?
Talking to this patient, of course.
Monsieur Marquet is my patient. If Herr Hagenmeyer was to hear that...
Okay, I'm going. I'd learned all I could from Marquet anyhow.
Ooh.
Oh, there you are, sir. I was just coming to look for you. I finished with your pressure gauge.
Thanks, Bunny.
What's that noise? It sounds as if someone's having a cardiac arrest.
It's all right. The doctor's in there with him.
Are you sure he was a doctor?
Oui, monsieur. He showed me his ID. It was Dr. Braille.
There's no Dr. Braille working here.
He's an imposter!
Oh, no.
The door's locked. Help me, officer.
Stand back, monsieur.
Effective. And the window's open.
Hello, George.
Hello, Nico. Okay, so pretty much back down into the same category. Every time we come here, we refresh on the story. Give Nico the update, because then it reminds us what we have to do.
I found Jacques Marquet.
Did he talk?
Yeah, he talked. For the very last time.
He's dead.
Yeah, killed in cold blood by a bogus doctor.
That's despicable. What kind of guy would pass himself off as a doctor and take advantage of a dying man?
Another assassin.
Was it Khan?
No, I don't know who he was, but it certainly wasn't Khan. He got away, out the window.
Oh, that's an ominous looking...
Have you ever heard of the Hashi-Ashin?
No.
Marquet said that they were his biggest enemy.
His biggest enemy was the bogus doctor.
Don't remind me. That guy was evil. He had wild, staring eyes like a dead fish. I'll never trust a doctor again.
Until you need one.
Do you think the assassin was responsible for killing Marquet?
I don't think so. He could have finished him off the first time. Besides, Marquet would have recognized him.
He was pumped to the gills with sedatives. He wouldn't have recognized the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unless they'd introduced themselves.
Yeah.
Do you want to look after the gem?
No, George. I'd be too tempted to sell it.
So same response as last
Do you
time.
want this photograph back?
No, you keep it. I can always make another print.
Okay, so there's nothing new in these dialogue
I guess
options.
I'd better go back and talk to that weirdo.
Which one, Rosso or Sergeant Moo? Oh, were you referring to Andre?
I'll let you work it out.
So we're going to go actually talk to Andre at the museum. We know that the tripod that they're after is in the museum. We know that. And we know that Marque hired Flap and Guido, those two gangsters, outside the Hotel Ubu to go and get it. So let's go to the Musée Kroon and see if we can do anything to prevent that. And there's Mr. Andre Lobineau. So we'll go and have a chat with him.
I beg your pardon. Are you Andre Lobineau?
That's me. You want my autograph?
No. I was told you may be able to help me.
Help?
My name is George Stobbartt. I'd like your professional opinion.
Well, okay. Shoot.
Alright, so we got a bunch of dialogue options which is going to explain a little bit more and give us some hints and clues about how and where we have to go.
Does the name Montfaucon mean anything to you?
Sure. It was the most grisly spectacle in Paris until the Revolution.
A public toilet?
Montfaucon was the place of execution for many thousands. A dark temple of death, with row upon row of arches, each one framing a grim exhibit. Scores of rotting corpses swung on creaking rope, while the crows devoured their flesh.
That explains the image of the hanged man. I found a reference to Montfaucon in Ireland, in a village called Lochmarn.
Lochmarn? That's where Pegram was digging.
That's right. He'd left the excavation before I arrived.
Does he know anything about Pegram?
Do you know Pegram well?
Not really. I met him at a conference. I would have liked to talk to him in depth, but I didn't have time.
When was this?
Oh, back in the summer, July, I think.
What about the manuscript? Do you know anything about our manuscript?
I'd like your opinion on a medieval manuscript.
Vraiment? Do you have it with you?
No, it's too fragile. And besides, there are certain people who'd stop at nothing to get their hands on it.
Intriguing. Do you have a copy of the text?
There isn't much. Only a few Latin phrases. I was kind of hoping you'd help decipher the pictures.
Without seeing the manuscript, that's a tall order.
Just tell me one thing. What does the image of two men riding on the same horse suggest to you?
The Knights Templar. Does the Templar seal appear on this manuscript? I'd love to see that for myself.
Now we're going to tell him where the manuscript is.
The manuscript is being looked after by a friend.
In Paris?
Yeah. Not far from here, in fact.
Well, just give me the address and I'll come round and take a look.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I should check with her first.
A female friend?
Yeah, she's a woman.
Instant greaseball.
This friend, who has the manuscript?
Oui, the anonymous girlfriend.
She lives at 361 Rue Jarry.
Ah, I know it well. I'll drop by. Just as soon as I can.
Okay, let's see what he knows about the Knights Templar.
Can you tell me anything about the Knights Templar?
I sure can, Georgie. Soldiers, diplomats, mercenaries, monks, bankers, you name it, the Templars fit the bill. The greatest fighting force in Christendom, the militia of Christ.
Jeez. How did the Templars get their name?
From the building in which they set up their headquarters. The King of Jerusalem gave them part of a mosque on the Temple Mount. It was said to have been the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The order became known first as the Knights of the Temple, and later as the Knights Templar.
You're a mine of information, Andre.
Glad to be of help, Georgie.
He's the only person that calls them that, I believe.
How come the Templars became so wealthy?
There was a constant stream of new recruits to their ranks, many from noble families. They were required to swear a sacred oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So, their money, goods, and lands were donated to the order. The Templars soon held land in France, Scotland, England, Spain, most of Europe, in fact. The poor Knights of Christ became the wealthiest power in Christendom.
Is it true the treasure of the Knights Templar was never found?
Who knows? So little knowledge of what really happened remains. Or if it does, the truth has never been made public.
What do you mean by that?
The Templars have attained mythological status, like the King Arthur of the Britons. There are people even now who say the Templars still exist.
Do you think that's likely?
No, not for a minute.
How about the tripod? What's he got to say about the tripod?
I think you ought to know that the tripod is going to be stolen.
The Lochman tripod? No.
It's true. I can give you a description of the thieves.
Before the supposed event has taken place?
I heard them planning the raid.
They're wasting their time. The tripod is protected by a state-of-the-art alarm system.
Well, don't say I didn't warn you.
Of course, we know what that sophisticated alarm system is.
Why don't you loan the tripod to me for safekeeping?
Because I'd never see it again.
But don't you trust me?
It's not a question of trust, George. That tripod is hundreds of years old and extremely fragile.
I get your point.
Alright, so does he know about any assassins?
Have you ever heard of the Hashashin?
Why, yes. It was a radical Muslim sect whose name became synonymous with murder. It was formed in 11th century Persia, shortly before the Crusades.
At roughly the same time as the Templars.
Yes. They gave a new word to our language. Assassini. The assassins.
Here we go, there's some background history for you.
How did the assassins get their name?
From the legends surrounding the secrets of their initiation rites. A young man who sought to join the sect was given hashish until he drifted into dreams. He awoke to find himself in a fabulous garden with everything he could wish for. The freshest water, the most delicious food, the choicest hash, and the most delectable women imaginable.
Cool. Do you have the address?
I haven't finished the story. There was a price to pay for this taste of paradise.
Wouldn't you just know it?
The young man would wake the next day to find himself back in the real world. He was told that he'd been given a glimpse of the heaven reserved for holy martyrs. A heaven he would enjoy for eternity if he was willing to join the Hashashin.
So I can think of another sect of people who went down the same road, trying to convince people what heaven it was, killing other people. Sad.
How did the assassins operate?
Well, as I explained, the new recruits would be only too willing to die for the cause. They'd be instructed in the use of the dagger, poisons, and disguise. Then, the Grand Master of the sect would name an enemy of Allah.
And they'd stop at nothing to eliminate that enemy.
You got it. They were fearless and deadly.
Does the cult of the assassins still exist?
Take a look around at the world today. You tell me.
Where was the site of Montfaucon?
To the northeast, near the Canal Saint-Martin. But there's nothing there now. The old gibbet was torn down during the Revolution.
Okay, so what that's saying is that that site is still in Paris, except it was just replaced. So we can see if he's seen this guy before, our Hashashin.
Does the guy in this photograph look familiar to you?
No.
Nothing. See if he knows anything about the club Alamut.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
Alamut is the name of the place where the Hashashin were based.
Where is it?
Somewhere in what used to be called Persia. I'm not too hot on modern geography, I'm afraid. The most recent map I have shows America as an English colony.
That was a long time ago. So we know somebody went to a place to look for something. We also know that that's now in the Middle East, what used to be Persia. So it has a little bit more of a clue on that matchbook and how it relates to Khan or Merlin.
Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we could technically stumble.
Pardon me. Oui, monsieur?
Around the museum for a while, but there is a way to start up into the next section of the game, which we'll go ahead and do. There's a lot more to explore, a lot more people to talk to, but we're concentrating on just the storyline for this playthrough. I highly suggest picking up this anniversary edition. It wasn't expensive. I actually got it on Steam for relatively cheap. Yeah, so check it out. Check out a lot of the dialogue. You'll find a lot more funnier segments in the game than what I'm showing here.
Do you know anything about the Knights of the Temple?
No, sir. Not a sausage.
The sign on the tripod says it was found at a Templar preceptory.
It does?
Yeah. It doesn't mention John D. at all.
Most remiss.
You don't know anything about the tripod, do you?
No, I don't. I never had much of a start in life. I owe a little education. He was an optician. He taught me
We've listened
the
to this
bottom rope.
before.
Why don't you start over?
You know, do you?
And you're in.
So we can skip all that. We've done these two as well.
Thanks for your help.
But what we can do is actually open up this window right here while the guard is away from the window. So now the guard is going to walk towards the window and be distracted. Once he's distracted, we're actually going to open up the sarcophagi.
It is closing time, Monsieur Lobineau.
Already, there just aren't enough hours in the day.
So we knew we had to
More
be in
than
there
enough for
to help prevent the
I can't
the
wait
raid,
to get home and put
stealing
my
of the
feet
tripod.
up.
Eh bien, see you tomorrow.
But that's how you
Monsieur.
get to the next scene to stop the tripod from being stolen. And there's our friends.
Quit fooling around, you moron! Get your ass over here and bring that flashlight.
Okay, so we can walk over, tell them off, we'll get shot. If we wait long enough, we'll probably get shot. Yep, there you go. So he's seen us.
Who's there?
Let's get out of here!
So we didn't actually do anything.
And when I woke up, I was at the police station. Luckily, I managed to persuade Rosso I was innocent.
Poor Georges.
What a mess. I bungled the whole thing.
I don't think so. You made a pretty good job of distracting those two crooks.
Yeah, but the killer got away with the tripod.
No, he didn't. He's not the only one who can dress up in costume.
You mean it was you who stole the tripod? Oh, hell, Nico. I could have been shot.
Those dogs are more likely to shoot their own feet.
I just wish you'd told me your plans. We're supposed to be in this together. But how come you dressed up like a pantomime cat?
Don't sulk, Georgie, please.
Oh, rats. And don't call me Georgie.
Oh, I really thought you'd be pleased. After all, we've got the tripod.
Okay, so now we will let her know that we've invited Lobineau over to take a look at the manuscript. Where did Nico get that cat costume? Recycled old Halloween costume, maybe? Good question. But she looks very impressed in that picture, I must say.
Oh, by the way, I had a visit from Andre Lobineau.
Oh, yeah. I hope you didn't mind me giving him your address.
Not at all. It was lovely to see him again. He was over the moon when I showed him the manuscript. It's not often he gets that excited. He made a sketch of the knight's crest to take back to the museum. I believe he's identified the family who bear that crest.
I sure hope so.
Okay, so now we can back out of here.
Did I show you this matchbook?
Yeah, we can back out of here now.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
I'd better get back to the quest.
And we will go over to the museum again. And I believe Lobino will be there with a little bit more dialogue for us. Tripod's gone.
Hi, Andre.
Hello, Georgie. Hey, I visited Nicole's apartment.
Yeah, she told me you came by.
Ooh, quite a fine Georgie boy. I didn't expect anything quite so sexy.
I hope you're referring to the manuscript.
Oui, of course.
What does he think about the manuscript?
What did you make of the manuscript?
It dates from the time of the Crusades.
We guessed that from the Templar seal.
It's a story and pictures like a modern-day comic book.
What story does the manuscript tell?
I don't know. It was probably produced for the tourist market.
Tourists?
Oh, oui, pilgrims in their thousands on their way to Jerusalem. The tourist trade is nothing new, you know. It's been around for centuries. Ever since Joshua made a packet selling souvenir bricks from the walls of Jericho.
Have you deciphered any of the images on the manuscript?
There's very little I can be sure about. The slang of the bull could be a reference to Mithras.
Who's he?
A Persian god, almost as popular as Christ at one time. The only thing I can be sure of is the knight. He's Spanish.
How can you tell that?
The writing on the shield, the reference to Ave Maria. No self-respecting knight from Northern Europe would have borne a coat of arms like that.
Alright, so now we know it's Spanish.
Can you identify the knight's coat of arms?
I already did, Georgie. He's a member of the De Vasconcelos family from the Costa Calida.
Were they famous?
No. They're not mentioned after the 15th century.
Oh.
The spotlight of history moved on. They're probably long dead.
Alright, so...
Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Andre. I appreciate your help. So now we'll go and see Nico. And we should get our next... Yeah, we got our next... Yeah, we'll go see Nico, and we should get our next destination. Let's see what Nico has to say.
Hello, George.
Is there something going on between you and Lobino?
What business is it of yours? We agreed all this. The clown, the Templars, strictly business, remember?
Yeah, but...
So get off my case.
Okay, well, I guess...
I'd better get back to the quest.
We get back to the quest. So she hasn't got anything more for us to say. But we do have a new place to go. We're going to go head over to Spain. And we're going to go check out the Vasconcelos property. See if we can get any more answers there. Thank you guys for watching this Broken Sword episode. If you've enjoyed the content, please consider leaving a like. And if you want to see some more Broken Sword story, consider subscribing to the channel and hit that notification button when it does come on live. If you've got any feedback, it'd be greatly appreciated. Please leave it in the comments down below. If you'd like to see some more live content, please hit me up on one of these live pages when I go live. I have different content for different channels. And at the end of the day, YouTube, don't just be cool, be downright fierce.